Prison Break didn't follow the rules. It bent them, broke them, and then tattooed them across its entire body. Scripts got shredded. Actors nearly walked away. And one of the biggest plot twists? It wasn't even planned. These are 20 weird facts about Prison Break, and the bonus? Let's just say the FBI started watching, and not just as fans. Grab your blueprints. The escape starts now. Fact 1. Wentworth Miller didn't want the role. At all, the man who played the genius behind the escape, Michael Scofield, almost didn't show up. Wentworth Miller was an unknown actor, burned out from rejection. He'd been passed over for so many roles he stopped reading scripts altogether. But one day, his agent called and said, "There's a part you have to see." Reluctantly, Miller glanced at the pilot. By page 10, he was hooked. By page 20, he was scared, because Michael Scofield wasn't just a role, he was a puzzle. A man with no ego, but layers of genius and pain. And Miller, a self-described introvert, didn't know if he could pull it off. At his audition, he barely spoke. He stared down the casting team with Scofield's cold intensity, and instead of showing range, he showed stillness. That silence, it won him the part. Fact 2. Lincoln Burrows was almost a completely different actor. Dominic Purcell wasn't the first choice for Lincoln Burrows, or the second, or even the third. Fox originally wanted someone less intense, someone with a softer image. But after seeing Miller's performance, the producers realized Scofield needed a human brick wall for a brother. They looked at dozens of actors before landing on Purcell, a guy with the build of a linebacker and a stare that could break concrete. There was just one problem. Miller and Purcell barely knew each other. They had one awkward lunch before filming. And yet, the moment the cameras rolled, their bond felt real. Because sometimes brotherhood isn't about blood, it's about chemistry. Fact 3. The tattoos took over 4 hours to apply. Michael Scofield's iconic full-body tattoo wasn't just a plot device, it was a nightmare for the makeup team. Every morning, Wentworth Miller spent 4 to 5 hours getting the temporary tattoo applied, neck to waist, arm to arm, piece by piece. The design itself was an engineering marvel. Hidden in the Gothic imagery were blueprints for the prison, escape routes, and secret codes. But what fans didn't see was the smell. The chemicals used for the transfer stank, and the removal process, even worse. Miller later joked that his skin smelled like a toxic waste dump every night when he went home. In later seasons, the makeup was digitally simplified. But in season 1, that ink was real enough to leave chemical burns. Fact 4. Fox almost killed the show before it aired. When Prison Break was first pitched, every major network said the same thing. Sounds cool, but it's not realistic. A man breaking out of prison using blueprints tattooed on his body? Too far-fetched. Too risky. Fox eventually took the leap, but even they got cold feet. Weeks before the premiere, they debated canceling the whole thing. The only reason they didn't? A little show called Lost premiered and became a phenomenon. Suddenly, high-concept TV wasn't crazy. It was gold. Fox rebranded Prison Break as their answer to Lost's mystery and 24's suspense. The show aired, and the ratings blew expectations wide open. Fact 5. The prison was a real, haunted facility. The prison you see on screen isn't a Hollywood set. It's the Joliet Correctional Center, a real-life maximum security prison in Illinois. And yes, it's supposedly haunted. Joliet had been shut down for years before the show. The cells were cold, the hallways creaked, and the history, dark. During production, cast and crew reported strange noises, objects moving without explanation, cold spots and empty rooms. Wentworth Miller, the ever-practical lead, laughed it off, but other actors refused to be alone on set. So next time you're watching Michael Scofield pace his cell, just know he wasn't the only one inside. Fact 6. Sarah Wayne Callies was almost written off for good. Sarah Tancredi, the prison doctor, Scofield's confidant and eventual love interest, wasn't always meant to stick around. In fact, during season 2, Sarah Wayne Callies left the show. Creative differences, scheduling conflicts, and rumors of contract disputes swirled behind the scenes. So what did the writers do? They killed her. Brutally. Or so we thought.
She's dead, Michael.
Fans were devastated. The romance between Michael and Sarah had been one of the few human anchors in the story. Letters poured in, petitions launched, and the writers, cornered by fan outrage and realizing they'd made a huge mistake, rewrote history. In season 4, they retconned her death. Turns out that gruesome decapitation scene? Yeah, that wasn't her head. It was one of the most bizarre character resurrections in TV history. But in the world of Prison Break, dead doesn't always mean gone. Fact 7. Teabag was based on a real criminal. If Theodore Teabag Bagwell feels disturbingly real, that's because he was inspired by actual criminals. Actor Robert Knepper didn't want to play a cartoon villain. He wanted to create someone who felt terrifyingly human, so he studied real-life interviews with predators and psychopaths. He focused on how they charmed their victims before turning violent. That unsettling smile, the polite drawl, the sudden rage, all taken from reality. Knepper was so convincing, in fact, that fans started avoiding him in public. Parents would pull their kids away. Strangers would cross the street. Knepper said he didn't mind. If people were scared of him, he'd done his job. Fact 8. Filming in the prison was a logistics nightmare. Joliet Correctional Center wasn't exactly film-ready. No heating, no air conditioning, no insulation from the brutal Illinois weather. In the summer, temperatures soared past 100 degrees. Actors sweated through their costumes. In the winter, their breath froze on camera. And because it was an actual prison, many rooms had no power outlets. The crew ran miles of extension cords through the cell blocks just to keep the lights on. But the worst part? The smell. Joliet hadn't been cleaned properly in years. The combination of mold, rust, and lingering other things. Let's just say it added a certain authenticity to every scene. Fact 9. The show predicted a real prison break. In 2007, shortly after the first 2 seasons aired, a prison in Brazil reported an escape that sounded eerily familiar. A group of inmates broke out using an elaborate tunnel system. Based on the prison's blueprints, authorities later discovered the ringleader had been watching Prison Break episodes smuggled into the facility. The media had a field day. "Life imitates art," they said. Fox didn't know whether to be flattered or horrified. Vince Gilligan would later joke about criminals watching Breaking Bad for chemistry tips. But Prison Break? It literally inspired people to dig for freedom. Fact 10. The cast pulled real-life pranks on each other. Behind the scenes, the show was all tension and escape plans. But when the cameras stopped rolling, chaos. Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell were notorious for messing with their co-stars. Hiding alarm clocks set to go off at random hours in cast trailers. Switching script pages to confuse each other during takes. Even swapping out prop tools for rubber ones, so escape scenes turned slapstick in the middle of filming. One infamous prank? They filled Robert Knepper's dressing room with plastic rats. Hundreds of them. He walked in, screamed like a horror movie victim, and swore revenge for the rest of the season. In a show built on tension, the real laughter happened when the cameras weren't rolling. Fact 11. Michael's tattoos weren't physically possible. On screen, Michael Scofield's tattoo is a brilliant puzzle. Blueprints, escape routes, and hidden codes. In reality, it wouldn't work. Actual engineers analyzed the tattoo after the show aired, and their verdict? It's beautiful, but it's completely useless. For starters, the blueprints on his arms didn't align correctly. Some escape routes led straight into dead walls. Others overlapped body parts that would distort when he moved. And don't even start on the scaling. His biceps aren't wide enough to hold a full ventilation map. But that wasn't the point. The tattoo wasn't designed to be practical, it was designed to look cool. And let's be honest, it succeeded. Fact 12. Season 3 was nearly canceled by a writer's strike. Just as Prison Break was hitting its stride, disaster struck. The 2007 Writers Guild of America strike shut down Hollywood. Scripts froze, writers walked off sets, and Prison Break, which relied on complex serialized storytelling, was caught mid-season. They had to wrap the Panama prison storyline in just 13 episodes, down from the planned 22. Entire character arcs were cut short. Cliffhangers were rushed, and some plot lines, like the escape from Sona, felt abrupt and incomplete. Fans were confused. Critics complained. But behind the scenes, the cast and crew were just trying to finish the story before the industry shut down completely. It wasn't the ending they wanted, but it was the one they could deliver. Fact 13. Sucre's accent almost got him. Recast Amaury Nolasco, who played Fernando Sucre, originally auditioned with a much thicker Puerto Rican accent. The producers liked his energy but worried audiences wouldn't understand him. They asked him to tone it down, find a middle ground. Nolasco, who speaks fluent English, adjusted his performance on the spot, but here's the twist. After season 1, fans loved Sucre's accent. His mix of street-smart charm and loyal friend energy became one of the show's emotional cores. So in later seasons, he let the accent slip back in. Not forced, not exaggerated, just authentic. And suddenly, Sucre wasn't just comic relief. He was the heart of the team. Fact 14. A real prison guard played a guard on the show. During the Joliet shoot, the production ran short on extras. They needed background guards for a tense hallway scene. Instead of casting actors, they asked the real prison guards, the ones keeping watch over the abandoned facility. One guard, a stocky veteran with a no-nonsense stare, agreed to suit up. He played his part so naturally that some viewers assumed he was a professional actor. Here's the kicker. That same guard had supervised actual inmates in that very hallway. One day, keeping real prisoners in line, the next, guarding fictional ones on national TV. Talk about art imitating life. Fact 15. Prison Break was originally pitched as a miniseries. Prison Break wasn't supposed to last 5 seasons, and a reboot. It was pitched as a 13-episode miniseries, a closed story about one man's escape from prison. Fox agreed, cautiously. But after the first season's ratings exploded, the network changed its mind. Can you stretch this out for a few more years? They asked. The writers scrambled to extend the story beyond the prison walls. More prisons, more conspiracies, more breakouts. Some fans loved the evolving scope, others missed the simplicity of the original plan. But one thing's for sure. Prison Break went from a one-season escape story to a sprawling, globe-trotting conspiracy thriller. Sometimes the best escape plans are the ones that break wide open. Fact 16. The show was banned in some prisons. Turns out, real-life prison wardens weren't huge fans of Prison Break. In the US, Canada, and even parts of Europe, several correctional facilities banned the show from inmate TV programming. Why? Because it gave the wrong people the wrong ideas. Inmates reportedly started analyzing the episodes for escape tips, studying guard behavior, and speculating about weak points in their own prisons. Warden memos literally cited Michael Scofield's blueprints as a security risk. The irony? Most of the show's escape plans wouldn't work in a modern facility. But that didn't stop inmates from dreaming. Sometimes the idea of freedom is dangerous enough. Fact 17. Mahone was written to be Michael's dark mirror FBI agent. Alex Mahone wasn't just a new antagonist. He was Michael's shadow. Actor William Fichtner crafted Mahone as the man Michael could have become. Brilliant, calculated, but broken. Haunted by guilt, addiction, and moral compromise. Mahone wasn't evil. He was trapped, just like Michael. The cat and mouse dynamic between them gave season 2 its edge. You weren't rooting for good versus bad. You were watching two flawed geniuses trying to outthink each other before they self-destructed. And in the end, their respect for each other blurred the line between hunter and hunted. Fact 18. Season 4's ending wasn't the original plan. Originally, Prison Break was supposed to end with Michael and Sarah sailing off into the sunset. Clean break, happy ending. But during writing, the team realized that wasn't true to Michael's arc. He'd sacrificed everything to free his brother. To let him ride into the sunset, unscarred, didn't fit the tone. So they rewrote the ending. Michael dies, heroically, painfully, and finally. The escape artist who spent his life breaking people out couldn't escape his own fate. Fans were gutted, but the creator stood by it. Sometimes heroes don't get a happy ending. Sometimes they just get peace. Fact 19. The show inspired a real tattoo craze. After season 1, tattoo parlors across the world reported a spike in blueprint-style tattoos. Fans got prison schematics inked on their backs, arms, and legs. Some even requested the exact designs from the show. One tattoo artist in Chicago said it best. People walk in asking for Joliet Prison's drainage system on their shoulder blades. And I'm like, are you planning something? It wasn't just a fashion statement. For some fans, it was a tribute to the show's themes: planning, sacrifice, escape. And for others, let's be honest, it just looked really, really cool. Fact 20. The reboot happened because of one text message. In 2015, Prison Break was dead. No plans for a sequel, no revival talks. Then, out of nowhere, Wentworth Miller texted Dominic Purcell. It said something simple. "You in?" Purcell replied, "Always." The two actors took the idea to Fox, who was already knee-deep in reboot fever. A few phone calls later, the wheels were turning. The reboot wasn't perfect. The story was a little stretched. But fans got what they wanted. Michael and Lincoln, one last time. breaking the rules and busting out of another impossible situation. Because sometimes all it takes is one text to restart a revolution. Bonus fact, the crew accidentally locked themselves in the prison. On one late-night shoot at Joliet, the skeleton crew was wrapping up for the day. They packed up, shut down the lights, and headed for the exit, only to realize the only guy with the keys had already gone home. The gates were locked, the main doors were chained shut, and for the next 3 hours, the crew was literally trapped in the prison they'd been filming in. They finally called the local police, who, after laughing for a solid 5 minutes, sent someone to unlock the doors. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The team filming a show about breaking out of prison couldn't break out of one themselves. Prison Break didn't just tell a story about escape, it told a story about obsession. One man, one impossible plan, and a brotherhood tested by every betrayal, every failure, and every wall. It blurred the lines between hero and villain, between genius and madness, and between freedom and sacrifice. In a TV landscape full of predictable crime dramas, Prison Break punched through the concrete and rewrote the rules. It didn't just escape the prison, it escaped TV formulas entirely. So if you loved chasing the madness with us, hit like, smash subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which fact made you stare at your own tattoos and wonder if they're hiding secret blueprints. Because in the world of copycat crime shows, only one ever broke the mold wide open. And that, my friends, is how you plan the perfect escape.